Welcome back to the Player Manager Podcast. We are officially YouTubers. I'm Zealand Shannon, joined by the newly minted YouTuber and Inter Miami midfielder, forward, defender, and everything else, Julian Gressel. And Julian, I just got to say off the top, congratulations on this weekend. That was
Thank you. Thank you. Good to
that
see
was
you.
big time. And it was the second biggest win you had this weekend, because I'm pretty sure you also were able to add YouTuber to your LinkedIn page, which is very important for
That's actually
a professional footballer.
That's a good shout. I got to add that. Yeah, that's something. Sure, goes on the resume, man.
Yeah, that growing resume. Well, I get you're running out of positions to play on the field, so you have to add one, right? That's
Yes.
you have to add one off the field.
That's
Okay.
right.
I wasn't understanding. I'm just a cog in the wheel here that feel like I'm being used. But if you are watching on YouTube and you haven't described or subscribed or whatever it's called, we're new to this. How dare you? And please do subscribe, and I'll see you in the comments section. My favorite comment from our first YouTube video. Somebody said, "Perfect for listening to at my job," while parentheses not working. Love it, y'all. So good luck to DJ. I believe it's Malsila, for your continued lack of work while you listen to this podcast. It's a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, that was. Actually saw that one too, and I think I also saw one that only said like, "I'm only here for Messi updates," and we'll get to that today as well. I think so. It'll be a good listen for them as well.
It's not just Messi updates; it's Messi goals, the plural, that we have to update you on. And of course, we're going to talk about how Inter Miami did, but there are a couple of other things we're going to get to today as well. The new Champions League format is kicking off. Going to get into exactly how it works and whether we think it's a good idea or not, because it is crazy different, and there's more matches being played, and the group stage is basically gone now. Equal pay in women's football's come up again. One of the power couples in football, Alicia Lehman and Douglas Louise. Alicia Lehman talking about how she feels it's unfair she's not getting paid what her boyfriend's getting paid, and so we're going to dive into that sort of stuff as well. And we believe we have also gotten our hands on Julian Gressel's EAFC ratings early, but he has not seen them. So we are going to try and make Julian guess his EAFC ratings for this year. And I'm sure that could only go well. But first, we have a very, very special giveaway to announce, which means I believe we have some music. Thank you. Julian, could you show the people what they can win as a giveaway on this podcast? You're wearing it. That's even better. You get the Julian Gressel musk with it. That's perfect.
Yep. It's match worn in a podcast episode.
It's a match worn podcast jersey. I got to do that. Yeah, the people are really waiting for my match-worn podcast jersey. But we're starting out. We're warming you guys up. We're giving you a teaser with Julian's match-worn podcast jersey. It's an Inter Miami third kit, that iconic kind of archive Miami Vice kit that everybody seemed to love so much on the internet. It's dropping. It's a beaut. It'll be signed by Julian Gressel, and you can win it. Details on how to enter later in the show. But first, we will start with Inter Miami's thumping win over a 14-year-old. So how do you feel about abusing a child this weekend? That's ridiculous. Beating Sullivan and the Philadelphia Union, continuing a quest to win the Eastern Conference, and the return of Lionel Messi. How did that feel? 3-1 win, everything going according to plan. Messi certainly didn't miss a beat.
Oh, what a way to welcome him back. I told him before kickoff, I went up to him and was like, "Welcome back, Leo. I know you've missed this." And he said, "Thank you." And then went on to have a great performance. Good to have him back. Simple as that. It was fun. It was enjoyable. Nice to be at home in front of our fans. Celebrate another victory. And seeing, Messi scoring 2 goals, Suarez scoring a goal, assisting, all those things. So it's, good vibes all around in Miami, I feel like.
What was the reaction like in the dressing room? At what point was it made clear that Messi was going to be playing? Like, was this for some reason? You speculated that he'd be coming back soon, but was it for some reason a match time decision, or was it training 2 weeks ago where they went, "Yeah, he's playing when we get back from the break"?
Honestly, by the last recording, I knew that he was going to play. I just can't say
Fair.
it.
Okay.
I gotta protect that in that sense a little bit and wait for the official announcement, which I think the team kind of made, or Leo made himself on social media kind of the day before. And at that time, it was clear that he was going to start and play. And I didn't honestly know how long he was going to play, but there was no minute restriction on him from what I heard before. So I didn't know if they were going to kind of like ease him into it, but I guess he felt really good, and was able to play all 90 minutes and create even something, another goal in the last few minutes of the game or last minute of the game. So um, no, it's been a good couple weeks for him of training, and he's feeling good, and now it's about getting him live reps, and it didn't take too long for him to I guess he didn't really need any live reps because he was playing great, and having him back in the lineup and in the team is just, it's giving everybody another set of energy, another set of life almost to kind of finish out the year strong. And I've said it before, I think if you can be in the form that we were in, be on top of the table like that, and then you add a player like him, is just such a big luxury to have. And certainly nice to see that we don't miss a beat, and we continue our ways.
Now, I've got a conspiracy theory as to why he played so well. Now, I don't know when exactly this picture was taken, but I saw a picture over the weekend that was frankly just an awesome picture. Now, obviously, you give a lot of the pregame talks.
I'm blushing.
You're a well-spoken man. Yeah, you're a very inspiring man, clearly. And there's this picture of you speaking in a huddle, I assume before the game, maybe coming out of the half, where it's Leo Messi and Jordi Alba. I mean, really locked in on what you're saying. Would you care to comment on how much that inspired Messi's performance?
I would say it made the difference. No, but it's
obviously.
Yes, obviously. No, but it's something that honestly I wasn't expecting at the time. So if you look at the lineup, right, you got to kind of start there. If you look at the lineup, there's really only Drake Calendar, the goalkeeper, and myself, who aren't native Spanish speakers. So my thinking and understanding is like, all right, what do I have to say in this, or what can I say in this moment that even like makes them understand, So I was like under the impression that, okay, maybe Busquets will speak, maybe somebody else will say something, like it's not kind of my thing still. And we get into the huddle, like I'm like waiting, we're kind of like looking at each other, and everybody's looking at me, and I'm just like, oh. So I just, I had thought about it just in case before, so I had something kind of just quick, easy words to start well, take another step in the right direction, move forward, have some intensity to our game, and be ready for what Philadelphia is about. And that is about second balls, about winning duels, about, kind of grinding and being ready for runners and behind, and kind of an intensity to them and stuff. It's not so much about soccer, they don't really play you into the ground in a way. So it was very quick, very short. And that picture, when I saw that after the game, I sent it to my brothers in Germany immediately. And I was like, wow, like that's going to be framed. It's going to be, I mean, it's Busquets, Suarez, Messi, and then Jordi Alba. And they're all kind of clued into what I'm saying. And it's just, it's just surreal to be able to do that. And yeah.
And what that kind of brings home for me, the person that's not in that dressing room every day, is that we've obviously, we hang out all the time. We're sitting here talking about this stuff all the time, and you've been there a while, but there's still an element of this that feels completely surreal.
Yeah.
In some ways, like obviously, everybody always talks about that is a professional athlete. I'm not one, right? That once you get on the field, you're just 22 people playing, right? Like it's just you're playing, and then it's fine. And you've had that kind of take on playing with Messi a lot of the time. But it feels like these sorts of moments, for example, just that picture being widely publicized, kind of snap you out of everything feeling like it's normal. And you just go, wow, that's Messi. And, all the other guys you just listed, they're listening to me, what I have to say, actually. Like you're the person that is, I don't want to say you're giving them instruction, but providing them with that kind of kick in the butt, basically at the start of the game.
Yeah,
that's just cool for me to hear, the fact that you are still aware of how ridiculously cool this is.
Yeah, absolutely. And that game, or these moments, or those pictures that I saw them after, kind of reminded me of that a little bit, where like this is surreal. This is it's insane, to be in this position, to be able to share the field with them, to be able to yeah, they may or may not be listening or understanding what I have to say, but for them to even look at me and like wait for me to say something before we then break and go into our positions to start the game is in itself crazy. So it's
Yeah.
just those pictures, and then when Leo scores an absolute banger or like an insane goal, and where he chops a guy and then goes to celebrate with Luis Suarez and myself, and it's just like those pictures you see as well. They're absolutely surreal and certainly eye-opening and certainly motivating as well, where, hey, I'm in this position. I'm not trying to take it for granted. I'm not trying to relax in this, saying that I've made it in a sense, right? I want to play well. I want to do the things that I know I can do and help him and the others and myself do well moving forward and kind of winning games and everything. So it's really eye-opening, but also motivating in a sense.
But all that inspiration with playing with some of the greats of the past has still not kept Inter Miami from one of the most interesting trends in my opinion, the history of MLS. Because to get into the actual match and what happened, you managed to concede instantly again. And I've already asked you this question every single funny way I can possibly think of. But a second-minute goal, you go down 1-0. What the hell are you thinking when that happens? I mean, you just given the greatest pregame speech of your life, obviously.
Yeah, obviously it wasn't good enough. So maybe somebody else needs to speak moving forward. But no, it was just a soft goal, I think, from us to give up and a bad start in general. I think the first 5 minutes were really, really, just not who we usually are. Not intense. It was kind of lax. It was, they kind of steamrolled us a little bit and scored right away, which I think it's just a bunch of little mistakes that happen that are just annoying. And something that we've had in the past, and I feel like we've had it when we did have all four of the big guys on the field, and that's something that we certainly need to address. And I say this every time. I feel like you've asked me this question in 1,000 different ways. I've answered it in 1,000 different ways as well. So
Yeah.
I'm not trying to beat around the bush. I think we know that we can't go down within the first 5 minutes of a game, and then that can essentially hurt us. It hasn't really hurt us. I think there's a stat that there's a stat that you're going to pull off here in a second that won't that'll show that, and that we also, I think, broke a record or something with that. But at the same time, it's really annoying.
I love what you said. We can't afford to do that, but very clearly you can. It just life would be easier if you didn't concede in the second minute. Full credit to our producer Michael for pulling this one out. But it is basically the stat is Inter Miami has joined 2015 DC United as the only clubs in MLS history to win 8 games in a single season after conceding the first goal, which is a lot of wins. I mean, it's hard enough to just win a match after conceding the first goal, but Inter Miami has now won 8 matches after conceding the first goal and is kind of comfortably top of the conference. But yeah, things actually, we talked about this match going through it, that it was this really easy cakewalk, but things did get worse kind of before they got better. David Martinez went down with, what looked like a muscle injury. When he's only on the team basically because so many center backs have been dropping like flies in the team in the first place. And so things were getting a little sweaty, but there was obviously no reason to worry because the greatest player of all time, Julian Gressel and Lionel Messi, were on the case in the 26th minute. We've got the goal for you.
His message to his team is if we go with the diamond, they know I'm not standing off a bit.
It gets bodies closer together.
Left up for Messi. Lovely turn. Great finish. Welcome back.
I mean, but like you said, I think, we needed the wake-up call, and that's right around the time when the 26th-minute hit there, when you see the goal. And, I mean, what a great goal, first of all. The crazy kind of assist Suarez gives there, I think, to Messi with the little layoff to him, or a little roll of the ball to him, and then he obviously chops up a guy and slots it home with his right foot. Great finish with his right foot, I feel like. So
first time,
So feel obviously for him to kind of, I was kind of right behind him, and I was the first one with Suarez to kind of celebrate with him. You could really sense kind of his joy and his happiness when that ball went in, and kind of him being back it's been a while. And I think he said it in his Instagram after the game. He's like, I miss nights like these. So certainly, a good way for him to start and for us to, once we started playing better, those chances were coming a little bit more. And he doesn't need many to be putting them in the back of the net.
I was going to say, once that first goal goes in, do you just know that it's a ball rolling downhill at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it was certainly felt nice to one, get the game back to 1-1 and not have to chase it anymore. And because as that goes on and as you kind of are chasing the game a bit more, and as you're down, you kind of get a bit more frustrated, and guys try and overdo things and all that. So it was a good way for us to reward ourselves right away for playing better and overcoming that bad start in a sense. And but for him, it was about being confident again, having that goal scoring, mentality that he's always had, and that creation and that hunger to score and stuff. To have that right away again was certainly right away there, and it was cool to see. And it didn't take much longer for him to score another one.
Yep, he scored 4 minutes later. Here it is.
Building up as this is crossed into the box, and there he is again! Oh, yes!
I'd be honest, after 2 goals that quickly in succession, how does Philadelphia Union feel on the field? This is just one of those questions where I'm interested in the experience of being a professional athlete here. Like, are they all yelling at each other? Are they trying to gather themselves? Or do they kind of know the writings on the wall because you guys just rolled them for the last 5 minutes?
I don't know how they feel. But all I know is how I felt, and that was pretty happy. That was pretty good feeling, and almost like man, this is just nuts, like smiling, like what is happening here, type of thing. And obviously vintage goal again, where I think it's Jordi Alba to Leo Messi, and he's a one-time low cross, and then he scores it. Just funny, it's funny and puts a smile on your face in the moment. I certainly didn't I certainly felt it in the moment too, which was cool. So it was just a good way for us to kind of go up in the game and have good feelings in general all around. Like, it was just nice feeling.
And those nice feelings, I'm assuming you just carried through the next 60 minutes, because Inter Miami would go on obviously to win 3-1. As we were saying, Lionel Messi hit the Steph Curry celebration, which, Messi's not normally one for dropping celebrations. So you just had to be able to show you that. Yeah, he put Philadelphia Union to bed. And that makes sense because Philadelphia Union obviously have 14-year-old Kevin Sullivan, and this was past his bedtime for sure. But he did get a picture, even though it was past his bedtime, with Messi. And I've got a stat for you here that'll probably blow your mind. Not only was he born at the end of September 2009, which is enough to make anybody that has made it out of high school feel old. He also was born when he was born. Lionel Messi on the next day, I think he was born September 28th, and Messi on the next day, September 29th, scored his 100th career goal. Wow. Which means Messi had 99 career goals when Kevin Sullivan was born, and now they were on the same team sheet across from each other.
It was funny because after the game I saw him on the field, and I know he didn't play in the game, but he was in his jersey, and he was kind of looking around with somebody, I think from MLS even, not just the Philadelphia Union, looking for Messi to take a picture because they obviously MLS wanted this PR stunt in a sense, right? So they were looking, and then I think they finally found him, and then he took the picture with them. And I, for 1 second, and I want to ask you this, would you have gone up to Kevin Sullivan and asked him for his jersey? Because I, for 1 second, thought about it, but then I was like, he's 14. I don't know if I can go up to him and ask him for a jersey. Would you have?
The funny thing, I don't know. The funny thing is, sitting in this chair, I would probably say yes. But in the moment, I mean, talking about legitimately a 14-year-old kid who has not played a lot of, the fact that he's played any senior soccer at all is amazing, but he has not played it a lot. He's just really notable for how ridiculous it is that he's there in the first place. But this goes back to somebody that we have had on this podcast before, Tom Bogert, when I talked to him for a video I did on Kevin Sullivan a while back. and he was talking about interviewing him and stuff, and how it felt awkward.
Yeah.
So this is a 14-year-old kid, in a lot of parts of society, rightfully, you just aren't approaching to and talking to 14-year-old kids who you don't know at all. Especially because he's at some, I can't remember what the tournament was, but he's obviously this insider. He's keeping track of all these youth players. He's at some youth team tournament. So Kevin Sullivan's hanging out with a bunch of other 14-year-olds, and he has to walk up and kind of break up a bunch of 14-year-olds hanging out to do a very adult interview. And he's like, it kind of felt uncomfortable. And what you just kind of hit on reminded me of the way he was talking about it, where it's just like, yeah, he's doing all these cool things and he feels like a peer in certain ways. But then in other ways, you're reminded of the fact that probably when you're walking next to him, because he's not a big guy.
No.
He looks like a kid.
Yeah.
But when you're walking next to him, like, am I really going to ask a 14-year-old for his shirt? I probably would not have, even though long term it might have been the opportunity of a lifetime.
So this is where my mind went exactly. So I'll walk you through my thoughts here, or walk all of you guys through my thoughts here. So this is I'm like standing there. I'm like, should I ask him for a jersey? It kind of would be cool to get his jersey, and then for him to, let's say he goes on and has this insane career, right? Insane. Goes to Man City, everywhere, whatever he does, and wins the Ballon d'Or, whatever. Like, let's just say that, right? Wins a World Cup with the US. Hopefully he does that. All those things. So for me to then have a Kevin Sullivan jersey sitting in my closet when I'm, 50, would be kind of a really, really cool thing, I think, to have, right? Like down the line, like everybody would be like, oh, where can I get a jersey like that? A game-worn one from his first season as a pro. And so this is where my mind went, is like, what if he had a career like Messi and I don't take this opportunity now to get his jersey? But then ultimately I shied away and I didn't ask him. And I'm hoping that he will be there next year and that we will play against him again and he will actually be on the field, and then probably I will ask him for a jersey.
Okay. That thought process makes sense. But I feel like there's another element to it too. Is there's so many things putting pressure on this kid. I mean, he is a kid. I know when I was 14, I would have hated somebody calling me a kid, but right, he is a kid.
Yeah.
That having somebody who has won multiple MLS Cups, who is capped with the US national team and has played in MLS for, a decade or more.
Does he know that though? You think he knows that about
I honestly, to be fair, his older brother does play in the league.
Yeah.
And he comes from a huge soccer family.
Okay.
But so it is more likely that he knows it than I would say even in the average youth player in MLS. But even if he doesn't know any of that, having somebody that he just watched play with Messi, right? So somebody that is an obviously established professional in the game, kind of walking up to him and asking him for his jersey, that there's almost an element that's adding even more pressure. Like, his life is already super weird.
Yeah.
And now it's just getting kind of more insane. It's almost like you don't want to be a cog in this hype machine. Yeah. At least that would have been also going through my mind, that I feel like if I'm walking up and asking him for my jersey, then I'm submitting to this hype machine. But obviously he's more likely to go on and do that than anybody the US seems to have ever produced. It doesn't mean he's going to do it, but it's possible. So,
honestly, I should have gone up to him and asked him for a jersey and if he wants to come on the podcast. That's what I should have done.
Oh, yeah. The business mind, that YouTuber mind is starting to take over. This is too late. This is perfect.
Too late.
No, I like the idea of you just standing there in the middle of the field with some soft music playing, like a movie or something, and you're just running through all of the potential outcomes of what would happen if you walked up to him and asked him for his jersey or something. That is definitely that's a funny mental image for me to have.
Yeah.
But we'll leave Kevin Sullivan and we'll leave Inter Miami for the next week of the podcast. Inter Miami, a couple of games coming up that are going to go a long way to deciding whether you guys are not only able to win the Eastern Conference, but of course break the record, knocking on wood as I say it.
I think we might be able to win the Supporters Shield on Saturday if we win both games. I think we might be able to.
Well, I'm not the mathematician, so
in your city, New York City.
And I won't even be there. And that's the worst part of the entire thing. Twitch is conspiring against us. TwitchCon is the same weekend to Julian Gressel being in town in New York. And the moment I found that out, I think I had an emotional breakdown. And they played the same soft the soft piano music that they were playing when you were standing in the field. That is obviously tough, but the weight's what makes it great. And if you guys make a deep run in the playoffs and I'm done with the New York Marathon, I absolutely could see myself spawning in at like a final in my finest Julian Gressel attire to cheer on Inter Miami to a potential, hopefully a potential victory. But yeah, I'm not going to be in town, but I'm sure. Look, the ticket prices for that game for Messi and Inter Miami playing in New York, they are pretty ridiculous. So that crowd is going to be a wild experience for when you guys actually come up here. While Inter Miami is taking a run at getting itself into the CONCACAF Champions League with a Supporter Shield League win, all that fun stuff, MLS Cup. The new Champions League format in Europe is about to kick off. And really, because of Football Manager, I feel like it's already existed for years, but it's still never actually happened. Do you know it? Are you familiar with how this works? I feel like we might have talked about this on the podcast once before.
I actually read through it, I think, the other week. I don't think we've talked about it, to be honest. But I think I read through it for the first time the other week. And honestly, I feel like it's a learning by doing, learning by watching type of thing, because it is quite complicated, in my opinion.
Well, I actually think it's fairer. I think that I'll try and explain why. But for those that don't know what's going to happen, basically, instead of 32 teams in the quote unquote group stage, there are 36 teams. And instead of being in a bunch of different groups, they are in one giant league table. Now, the teams are sorted into 4 pots the way that they were before, basically. But instead of, one team from each pot going into a group, you basically play 2 teams from each pot. So you play 8 matches. You play 1 home, 1 away against a random team from each pot. And that honestly sounds fair. And it also creates matchups between multiple pot 1 teams in the league stage, which I think is cool. You could get Manchester City versus Real Madrid in the group stage earlier than you would have before. And it also means that if there's no getting a super easy group stage draw, right? You are going to play 2 teams from each pot. The level is kind of harder locked in than it was before. You can still get, the easier teams from each pot, but everybody kind of faces the same slate.
Yeah.
And then the most complex part that people struggle with is that if you finish in the top 8, you go straight to the round of 16. All right, are you still with me? Stay focused. Okay. And if you finish from 9 to 24, you go into a playoff round. Okay, which is basically before the round of 16. If you're 9 to 9, I think it's 9 to 16, then you're a seeded team. Basically, if you're 17 to 24, then you're unseeded. And you have that playoff round, and the 8 winners then play against the 8 teams that finished in the top 8. If you finish 25 to 36. Yeah, it is. They've created an extra knockout round in the Champions League, basically, which is great for them. They make more money. They sell more matches on TV, which is the whole point. And they're basically just going to keep making players play more matches until their legs fall off, which also feels like it's the entire point of the system and the way that it's been designed. But there's also no drop downs. 25 to 36, they don't, go to the Europa League or anything. They just stop playing. Which is also interesting. So that the whole system of people kind of filtering down to the other tournaments, it doesn't exist anymore. If you're in the Europa League, you're in the Europa League from the league stage on. And all 3 of them work the same, except for the Conference League, just because I'm full of useless football knowledge. I know this. They play 6 matches instead of 8. I have no idea why. Maybe it's a cost thing. They just do. But that is the new Champions League format. And when you first heard about it, what were your thoughts regarding the change, obviously? Because you grew up in, Europe watching Bayern Munich play in the old format, and now it's all jumbled up.
For me, it was, it's new, right? So I feel like you never really know how it will fully shake out until you actually experience it, until it actually happens. And then this will be a good year to kind of experience and figure it out, right? Of how I like it, really. But for me, what it created was just a question of how it's able to figure out the strength of schedule and really one team could play, I don't know, 7 teams, right? That could be one certain, there could be really tough matchups in there, but then another team could have a luckier draw in a sense of making it make it into the next round. So like how does it create fairness in a sense, right? Where before it was like, all right, you're in this group, you have to play them two times each team, the two best go on, and kind of like a standard format, right? This is just new, and it's just something that where I went immediately, my mind went to how is it fair? And you said that you actually think it is fair. So why don't you give me your take kind of on this?
I think there's no way to ever prevent people from getting easier draws than other teams.
I guess, I guess you had that in the other one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I pulled up the pots, right? And basically, let's say you have to play 2 pot 1 teams. Let's say you're a team that's bad and you're really hoping you get an easy draw to go through. Well, you could get, Bayern and Real Madrid as your 2 pot 1 teams, or you could get Dortmund and Leipzig. Yeah. Those 2 teams are in pot 1, right? And you could get those that work in your favor. Also, if you're playing pot 4 matches, you could draw Slovan Bratislava, who, they're ecstatic to even be at this stage, right? The team from Slovakia. Or you could play Aston Villa and Stuttgart, 2 teams that are, eons better than Slovan Bratislava. So there's never going to be a way to replicate it. But I think what you were taught, to make sure that everything is completely fair is what I mean by that. But to your point, there is a difference now in that it used to be PvP. It was you and 3 other teams, and you were all kind of locked in the same house. And you would just have to try and beat each other up. And you played all of the teams that you were technically competing against. So you played them twice. And so there was a real familiarity, and there was probably more of a feeling of you either accomplished it or you didn't, right? Because you played all of those teams twice, you earned it on the field, whatever. Now it feels more like, to borrow a gaming term, it feels more PvE, player versus environment, versus PvP, which would be player versus player, which is like Call of Duty or something. Now it's PvE, because you could end up on the final day where you're playing, young boys from Switzerland, but the team you're actually competing against to try and, to try and move into the top 8 or move into the top 24 is like PSV and Sporting and Feyenoord, but they're all over the place playing all of these other teams. So you're not actually playing the team that you're trying to move ahead of.
I see that. And I guess
I think
and I guess with the way you said it earlier about 9 through 26, you also have a way.
Yeah, 9 through 24. Yeah,
9 through 24. You also have a way of, if you do fall outside of the best 16, which is half, right? Of the teams, then you.
Or wait. A little less than half. I'm scared of getting math
chance. You do still have a chance to advancing, kind of through to the knockouts and to the real important rounds, right? So I guess I could see it.
I mean, I have a concern, and then I have something that's probably going to be really fun. Which one do you want to hear first?
Let's do the concern first.
Okay. My concern is that because 2/3 of the teams make it through, that's going to devalue Champions League matches in some way. Now, they've tried to change that by saying, well, if you get top 8, you get a bye, right? You go straight to the last 16. That's cool. But if you've got 2 matches left and you're in 15th, right, and you've got Bayern Munich away and then Slovan Bratislava at home, you're pretty much set on where you're going to be, right? Like, if you're an average Champions League club. And so those matches you're like a mid-table team with 2 matches left in the season. There's really nothing to play for at that point.
Yeah.
That's my concern. I think that we're going to end up with a couple of teams, and particularly more Champions League matches, where there is literally nothing on the line. Particularly if you're, I keep invoking Slovan Bratislava, and I'm sorry I'm abusing them. I'll switch to Sparta Prague. If you're Sparta Prague and you're 36th, you're done with like 3 matches left to play. Yeah. I mean, you're not going to be able to make the points up to get into the top 24. And so you're kind of just sputtering around like a team that's already been relegated at some point.
Yeah.
Now, what could be really fun is the way that switching to my thing that might be great and might salvage all of this is in the simulations that Football Manager does for this format, there is a ton of drama because there are 18 matches going on at the same time every time, right? And so on that last day, I mean, one goal can just, and all of a sudden 3 teams move up into the top 8 and 2 teams move out of the top 20. Like, there is a lot of, basically everybody in all of the grounds is going to have the live scores up on their phone, trying to do the math and figure out who they need to score in order to move up or move down. And we're seeded, now we're unseeded. So that last day, I think, could really salvage all of it. And that there are going to be a few matches nobody cares about because it's already done. But there might be more matches that are ridiculously dramatic, where even that Sparta Prague is playing a match against a team that is playing for their life, and they can score a goal and ruin it for them, and that's their crowning achievement. I don't know which one's going to outweigh the other, but like you said, they kind of just have to play it the first time and see if it actually works.
I feel like you're an expert on this because you've already played it in Football Manager a few times, so you kind of know what's to come here, which is giving me good vibes about it, which is making me more excited.
It is usually pretty close. You usually don't know. Like, you might have one team that clinches top 8 with one match to go, because there's so many. There's so many decent to good teams in the Champions League. That if you unless you win all of your matches, it's hard to clinch top 8. With 5 or 6 matches played out of 8, that just doesn't. There's so many other teams that if they go and win all their matches, all of a sudden you're not up there. But no, I think it's also important to acknowledge that this change was only made for money. That's the only reason they made the change. Hopefully it will continue to be very entertaining, but that's why they did it, because there's a lot more matches and there's bigger matchups earlier in the tournament. But do I care that they did it for money when I get to watch Bayern and Real Madrid play in the group stage? No, I'm going to enjoy watching that match. Even if they're already both guaranteed through to the last 8, I'll watch.
Yeah, no, same here. I think that's a pretty good trade-off to have.
Yeah, no, I said it about expanding the World Cup to 48 teams is like the people in charge of soccer, they're always going to make decisions for money, but every once in a while they accidentally make the right decision. This might accidentally be the right decision while chasing the bag. So full credit to them. And speaking of bags, there's something that is worth mentioning today, and I want to make sure I get the quote right here, and it's about pay in women's football. And I think there's been a lot of nuance lost in these types of conversations over the years just because of the way the internet typically works. You're either screaming from one side or screaming from the other. But this involves Alicia Lehman, and I'll get the quote up here. And she's dating Douglas Luiz. If you don't know who she is a very good footballer. Douglas Luiz obviously is a very good footballer. They did a couples transfer to Juventus in the off seasons. The first, it was kind of a cutesy story. It was the first couples transfer in the history of football. And she basically talked about, I've got the quote here. She said, "I'm not a star. I'm a normal person. I go home, I cook, I do the same thing as everyone else. After training, I often tell Douglas that it's unfair. We do the same job, but he earns 100,000 times more than me." And she's not far off with that. He gets paid nearly 2,000 a week. She gets paid about 5,000 a week, but 4,500 a week, which is obviously a very comfortable living wage. But it is nowhere near to what kind of her boyfriend is making. Now, I don't want to expand this into something it's not. She's not saying that it's ridiculous Juventus isn't paying me $200,000 a week. She's just saying that she feels like it's unfair, and she obviously used hyperbole saying he makes 100,000 times more than me. But what's your kind of first reaction in hearing that? Because I definitely have. I feel like this is a conversation that needs to happen, and especially with as quickly as the women's game has grown, is going to happen more.
Yeah, I think it's certainly a topic that is growing more and more in popularity, and her coming out, making it blatant like that, right? Just stating the obvious of kind of what their household is like is certainly interesting to hear, honestly. But I mean, for me, it's a tough topic because I do think that there's more value in the men's side of it. I think that's just a fact, right? That there's more TV money, more attendance, all those types of things. That is, so in a sense, those players are valued more, right, for what they produce on the field. But I do think that there should be some sort of I think equal pay type scenario where I feel like honestly the U.S. women's national team, with what they have done here in the U.S. in terms of negotiating the CBA, and kind of making bonus payments, for example, equal pay in a way, and having the same types of structures throughout the men's and the women's side that are equal. Those types of things are certainly really, really important steps, and steps that should be taken honestly. But for her to say it as blatantly as that is, yeah, I get her. I get her frustration. I feel like almost a little bit, but at the same time, I also see why there is that difference still, and why it is like that. But I know you've had a longer kind of video about this, and you've kind of dove into this topic a little bit more. So what do you think about this?
I mean, I don't disagree with what you're saying. I think that there should be room to acknowledge the fact that the reason athletes get paid stupid amounts of money is because of the stupid amounts of money that are thrown around them. Like, the reason that like even Saudi Arabia is willing to pay Ronaldo $100 million is because the number of eyeballs that it's going to bring to have Ronaldo in Saudi Arabia. But I think that there's two directions you can go at this. Because one, you want to grow the women's game, right? And it is good and it is healthy to provide those opportunities and to grow the women's game. And you've seen the result. I mean, 20 years ago, nobody would have imagined the amount of attention that was on the women's Euros, the women's World Cup, the women's Olympic tournament, which is a way bigger deal, obviously, than the men's Olympic tournament. Like it has grown massively. And they did this a bunch of different ways, but one of those ways was kind of forcing a lot of clubs to have women's teams. And there wasn't necessarily an economic short-term imperative to do that. So there is part of this argument that goes beyond economics, where you go like, okay, you need to provide a professional atmosphere for women to be able to play. It's almost like a build it and they will come. It's a long-term investment. You're building the field of dreams basically, and that the game can grow eventually. Now, I'd argue that women's football has bigger growth potential than men's football because men's soccer is already everywhere.
Yeah.
Right. And so the only like women's soccer it has a huge boom potential because it can head in that direction. And in some countries like the United States, where the women's national team, it does get the same eyeballs as the men's national team. It's already done that, and they deserve that equal pay. That's why this conversation is important, because you want to make sure that pay doesn't lag behind. Because in every situation in the history of ever, when there's a big boom and a lot more people are paying attention to women's football, pay is always going to lag behind. So you have to keep talking about it so it keeps up. But obviously, and I think she was kind of being tongue in cheek with the way that she said this. But obviously, if every club was mandated to provide equal pay at this particular moment, I think you'd probably bankrupt a lot of clubs, because the money coming in from women's football just isn't the same as the money coming in from men's football. You should take the appropriate steps to attempt to change that over time. But you also, if you go for the gold right away, you're just going to end up bankrupting kind of everybody. Because at the end of the day, the point I made in that video is basically just being the best at your sport doesn't guarantee that you should make a ton of money. The number of people watching you is what guarantees that you should make a ton of money. Like if you're the best Aussie rules football player, you're not going to make as much as LeBron James, just because more people are watching LeBron James do what he does. Yeah. Now, Aussie rules football is growing. I went to a couple games. It's on Fox Soccer Channel in the middle of the night. So, they're probably making more money than they were. And that's the same process that you kind of have to go through. So you want to be able to keep talking about it, but you also have to be aware of the economic realities in the meantime. Well, it's tough though.
That's I guess where my take is at is, right. If you super simple terms, right. If you say, all right, the revenue of each team in, I don't know, the women's league is, let's say 10 million, and 30% or 50% of that is turned into a salary cap, right? Same thing for the men. Like if you have 100 million of revenue, 50% of that is turned into a salary cap. So obviously the men are going to make more, but the relation to the revenue to the salary in a sense stays the same, right? And that's kind of where I'm getting at. So these are equal pay things or equal pay issues that are real topics of discussion. But I also think that if she says the way she says the quote, in a sense, is like, well, I could also say, or her husband can also say, well, this player that does the same job is on my team and he makes 700 or 500K a week, and I only make 200K. I should be making 500K a week. So like,
True.
it's very, very simple in a way, the way she says it, right? Obviously, it's a much, much deeper conversation in that sense. But I get her sentiment and her understanding, and I love the fact that she brings it up, because it should be talked about, and it should be, it should be a topic that shouldn't just go away, or it should stay in the forefront of minds, and there should be, there should be different things that needs to be adjusted in order to make it more equal, and figure out a way of how to get, women paid ultimately more, in a way, hopefully, as the game grows.
Yeah, just creating more women's professional football is definitely a good thing. But I like that idea. It's basically what you're describing is kind of like an FFP for men's and women's salaries, essentially. Like, if you have to spend this amount on salaries if you're making this much money as a women's club. I think that would be a great way. As long as you can set a floor on that, so that if a women's club gets relegated, they don't just disband every time. But as long as you can set a floor on that and be able to make sure that clubs can stay financially healthy, then I think that's actually a really good idea that would help the wages keep up with the massive growth of the game, right? Because if you're signing a 4 or 5 year contract, well, the women's game is going to grow a ton in that 4 or 5 years, as we've seen over the last 4 or 5 years. And so you're probably not getting paid fair value. We'll leave that there, though, because there's another fair value that we need to talk about, and I am so unbelievably excited for this, Julian.
I'm not.
Whether these values are fair, because it is time. We believe, we're not 100% sure, we believe we have Julian Gressel's EAFC 25 card, which is, of course, the card that every young person across the globe is going to be signing day one on Ultimate Team to try and make their team the best as possible, because, the versatility alone. But we have 6 ratings. We have pace, shooting, passing, dribbling, defense, and physical. And of course, we have the overall rating that you have. Okay. But we'll reveal that at the end. I'm going to have you guess each one, and then we will unveil what the actual number is to the viewing audience here on YouTube, or the listening audience anywhere that you happen to get your podcast. We will start everybody's favorite with pace. And this, of course, if you are unfamiliar with the EAFC, formerly known as FIFA, the artist formerly known as FIFA, this is a rating between 1 and 99, with Kylian Mbappe being a 99 and me being a 1. Where is Julian Gressel on the pace rating? What is your pace rating? What do you believe it should be? How fast are you?
Should be like I feel like it's like high. I'm just gonna go right. I was gonna say high 60s or low 70s. I'm gonna go right in the middle, 70.
Okay, you're gonna go with a 70. Drum roll, please. Julian Gressel's pace in EAFC 25 is a 66.
Almost.
But not I feel like you were expecting worse than that. You were expecting worse than that.
But I'm also not fast, so not slow, but I'm also not fast. So, yes.
In a professional athlete sense, it's a relative it's a relative bar. All right. And next on our list is shooting. Julian Gressel, the sniper, brilliant striker of the ball, scorer of goals. What is your shooting rating? You nearly got pace. I didn't give you enough credit for that.
It's going to be around there too, I feel like. A little bit better maybe, so I want to say 69 in shooting.
Nice. Going 69, going once, going twice, to 63, what? Julian. You're 63 in shooting. Oh.
Got to score more goals. Man.
No, I feel like your actual shooting ability's got to be higher than that, right? I'm Team Gressel on this one.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I don't know. I don't like this. I don't like where this is going. This is not great.
Next is the Gressel special. Next is passing.
Okay.
Your passing rating.
This has to be one of my best ones.
On EAFC, what is your passing rating? Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 99, we've got 66 pace and 63 shooting on Julian Gressel.
Has to be in the 70s. Please say it's in the 70s. I'm gonna go 76.
He's gone 76. Hit me with the drums. Julian Gressel's passing is 71.
Oh,
It's
man.
71.
I'm so bad.
Hey, you're a silver card. Don't get yourself too down in the dumps.
Is there
right?
a
And I will tell you
differentiation
this.
between crossing and passing, or no?
No. I think crossing is so the ultimate team cards. They kind of boil all of this like all of the ratings into 6. I think crossing goes into passing.
Okay.
I would imagine your crossing would be higher
All right.
than the other like passing elements, but we won't. Maybe we can go through that next week. We can pick out a few more
set
ones
pieces
here.
should also be higher. So
There you go. But I'll tell you, out of the 6 core attribute groups, passing is not your highest. We have 3 to go.
okay.
Yeah. Okay, so
think
pace
I know.
is 66, shooting is 63, passing is 71. Next up, we have dribbling. What is Julian Gressel's dribbling rating?
No way.
In EAFC.
No way. That's good. It's like a 64.
It's gone 64. Drum rolls. We're not going to get sick of those. It's a 70.
They're not
Your
watching
dribbling
me.
is a 70.
They're not watching me. I don't know if I've ever done like a dribble or a step over in my life in a game.
Well, if you run past people, you separate a little bit. I think ball control might be in there. So like first touch is part
All
of it.
right. I'll
Like
take
your
that.
ability to maneuver the ball past people. It's better than your pace and your shooting.
Okay.
Is dribbling. There you
Interesting.
go. So 66 pace, 63 shooting, 71 passing, 70 dribbling, defense. What is your defensive rating in EAFC 25?
Whew. That is really, really tough to say.
You feel like you're a good defender?
Like one-on-one defending, probably not. But like tactically and understanding of how to defend, yes. and
Okay, I like that
like
answer.
effort,
All right.
yes.
Yeah,
like
max effort.
Maybe like a 66.
The defending for Julian Gressel is a 61.
Okay.
It is
All right.
your lowest
I'm just too high.
attribute.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. Now, hey, you were actually way
am
below
I,
on
am I
your
a
dribbling.
right? What am I?
honest.
What is my position?
You are. I like that you're one of the players that has to ask that question.
Yeah.
You are a right midfielder.
Right midfield.
But I'm sure if you go into your card, you can play, right back and right wing and everything.
Yeah. Okay.
No, not that I play a ton of EAFC, but I have played enough to know that exists. But that brings us to your final attribute out of the 6
The
core
best one.
attributes.
It's the best one.
Pace is 66. It is.
Yeah.
Of course, I've already leaked that to you. Shooting is 63, passing 71, dribbling is 70, defense is 61. I imagine this is the one you already thought was the best one.
Yes.
It is physical ability. This makes up, strength, stamina, work rate, those sorts of things. It's basically all the physical stuff that doesn't have to do with pace. What is your rating?
All the things you don't need talent for.
Hey, that's a huge credit, honestly. This man earns it, and you're a way better dribbler than you thought. So
I'm gonna go 78.
76. So not bad.
All right. I'm just higher on myself.
76.
I'm just higher on myself.
No, I mean, I feel like that's fair. And honestly, last year, I've got your card from last year here. You were a 78 in physical ability. Do you feel like you've lost a step or something?
I guess. I mean, I'm a year older. Does that count one couple points? I guess.
They knocked 4 off your pace from last year too. So they went after you in the physical department.
I should show you my stats because that didn't happen. GPS data. There's proof.
You have a GPS data.
There's proof.
You are a 72 overall on EAFC, which is a good rating.
Is it?
Well, they don't hand out high ratings to MLS players. I'll be honest.
Okay.
Right, because you think about the overall scale that FIFA is using. I mean, they have 1 or 2 random, really small leagues, but it's a much harsher grading curve than something like EAFC comes in at. Also, we've apparently, our producer Michael's apparently been able to finagle your actual individual attributes, your crossing, and your stamina. I'll have you guess those two. He has found those two.
Well, that's
and we'll close it out with that.
I can't lie because I'm seeing it in the chat here.
Oh no! I forgot he said it in the global chat. No. Oh, whatever. The crossing. You were right. Your crossing's higher. It's a 77, and your stamina is a raucous 85. That might just be your highest overall attribute. You are the consummate professional.
I'm gonna go run the New York Marathon with you eventually.
Dude, I don't know if you'd be running it with me. You'd probably be, off in the distance. I'll see you at the finish line. We can go get protein smoothies afterwards or whatever. But no, that would be fun. But I don't know if your body would appreciate that while you're still playing in the league.
We'll do it after.
Forward to that.
We'll do it after.
I look forward to that in the future. It is a great once in a lifetime experience that I've decided to subject myself to more than once in a lifetime. So we'll see how that goes. But it's time for our fan question, and thank you to everybody that sent one in this week. You can also drop those questions in the YouTube comments because, of course, as you've already noticed, we are reading those. But the question is from Michelle on Instagram. They said, I think you need to touch on the Messi as everyone in the club video. Reactions? Did Messi see it? Now, I don't even know what Michelle's talking about, so I'm just going to leave this one with you.
You
I'm
don't?
assuming you've seen this. I haven't seen this. No.
Oh my gosh. I'm going to send it to you right after this episode.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's basically people in the club dancing, just like old school clubs.
I did
and it's
see
Messi's
this.
faces on everybody. Yeah.
I did see this. This was really disturbing, actually. That was really weird. That was like a fever dream. I saw it at 2 a.m. I'm like doom scrolling in bed or something.
Yes, exactly.
Oh.
I am not sure if you saw it or not. I haven't had the confidence to go up to him and show him. But I mean, I think it was hilarious. Just seeing that. And now, like, imagining our faces on there would be really, really cool. We gotta have like a fan somehow Photoshop our faces onto these people or some other video. That would be insane.
I think Michael did that for a social post. Photoshopped us onto like old school footballers, like old school soccer players, and that was disturbing enough. You start putting me dancing in an 80s disco club with the types of hair they were working on. I mean, that being said, would love to see it. I think that would be awesome. I mean, I really hope Messi sees that video, but I also imagine somebody like Messi is so shut off from social media because it would just be, too much to try and actually keep track of.
Honestly, from how I've gotten to know all of them, I could see Jordi Alba sending him that video, like DMing him the video on Instagram, just like you DM your buddy like a funny video, I could see that happen. So I feel like he's seen it.
For some reason, even just knowing these guys from TV, Jordi Alba feels like the guy that would definitely be like, sending the memes in the Instagram group text. Well, if you do hear, we would obviously also love to hear. But now it's time to talk about the giveaway because you can win a signed Julian Gressel jersey, game worn in the podcast, Julian Gressel, Inter Miami third kit. It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, I'm going to be putting in for this giveaway, so good luck because I know a few people on the inside, but it's worth putting in anyways, just to make sure. You got to be subscribed to the YouTube channel and you comment on this video and you get bonus points and our completely objective rankings if your comment is clever. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel, because of course this podcast is now on YouTube, the Player Manager podcast, and you comment on the YouTube video, you could win that jersey right now that you're looking at, which is going to be exciting. Julian's got his signing hand warmed up, and we will be back next week. Subscribe. That's all you have to do. And comment and say hi and everything. Thanks for watching. Bye.